Welcome back to the Werewolf Bar and Whiskey with a Werewolf Hunter. I'm Brian Easton, author of the Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter series, and thanks for joining us here this evening. And don't forget to subscribe before you get too far into things. The creature of the night is a new bottom shelf beauty that I've picked up called Ezra Brooks, and it has officially taken over the Evan Williams place as my go-to whiskey here at the Werewolf Bar. And I'll tell you why. It is a budget whiskey, but it sure doesn't taste like one. Price tag is about $13 for a fifth, and it's 90 proof. It tastes like it costs $50. It's got a great nose, and I'm not a whiskey snob, but if it comes in a plastic bottle, which the bottom shelf whiskeys usually do, I pass it over because something about a plastic bottle, it just ruins the taste of the whiskey for me. But this came in a glass bottle and with a cork stopper instead of the little metal screw lids that you see on them sometime. And it's a good sipping whiskey, and I'm going to keep it on hand here at the bar from now on. I just hope the Ezra Brooks people don't wise up and jack up their prices. So tonight I wanted to weigh in on the whole conversation surrounding movie reboots, specifically the reboots of the monsters from Universal Studios. I've been a fan of those movies since I was a little kid. It's what got me started in the horror aficionado business, and a lot of you are probably the same way. And I've been a fan of these movies. I've watched them all so many times, and I own multiple copies of most of them. But as you probably are aware, in the last few years, the execs over at Universal decided they wanted to remake some of those classic monster movies. Actually, back as far as 2010 with the remake of The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And then they came out with Dracula Untold, which was okay. It was a step down, I thought, from The Wolfman. And then in 2014, we got the much maligned Tom Cruise Mummy movie. So this all culminates in the present with the latest installment of that, which is The Invisible Man, which I saw and was really pleasantly surprised with. I saw it just last weekend. So you're probably also aware, we horror movie fans are a notoriously hard to please demographic, and even more so we classic horror fans, and we're more than willing to tell you our opinion about something having to do with that at the drop of a hat. And usually you get a lot of displeasure from the fans whenever there's talk of a reboot, a lot of skepticism, and rightfully so. Well, you have what I call the purists in the first place. These are the people who don't want remakes. They're not interested in some director's new interpretation of a classic, and they just want everybody to leave their babies alone. Okay, I can appreciate that to an extent. But what I could never really figure out about that opinion was, what horrible thing do they think is going to happen to the original movies that they love in the event of a reboot? I mean, whether it might be any good or not, and that's almost beside the point, it's as if the new film, when they make it, is going to replace its predecessor, and the black and white version would be wiped from existence, never to be seen again, leaving us with this newfangled whippersnapper film, which is just not the case. The classics aren't going anywhere, and you can watch them as often as you like. Pop one in right after the show if you want to. Watch it as many times as you want. And most importantly, you never have to go see the latest rendition at the theater if you don't want to. But for the purists, the fact that anyone, might want to try a different angle on these films is tantamount to sacrilege. Even if James Whale crawled out of his grave with a new idea for Frankenstein, the purists would still be there with their pitchforks and torches to shout him down. I'm convinced. Now, the rest of this zealous subset of classic horror fans seems to be relatively okay with the idea of at least trying something new. So they're okay with the attempt, in theory, as long as it's worth the crap when it's in the can. So the issue, of course, is that often as not, we've already decided it's going to be crap before it's even finished filming. If the director takes the film into the present, which is not one of my favorite things for them to do, but if they deviate from the storyline at all and do it from another perspective, then they're likely going to be bashed because it has nothing to do with the original and isn't worthy of being called the Invisible Man. This is happening right now. And if a director does try to stay true to the original material, then they're going to accuse him of lacking imagination and retreading the original to no one's benefit. Now, I'm not an apologist for dumbasses who can't seem to wrap their heads around how to make a good horror movie, but I think if we get right down to it, even the most disagreeable of us are going to have to admit that our old silver screen monsters haven't really been scary for decades. We are a jaded public. I don't mean just the monster fans, I mean all of us. We're a jaded public. What was funny 10 years ago isn't funny anymore. What was scary 10 years ago isn't scary anymore. And that just, I think it just gets more and more jaded each generation. Sound like my grandfather now. And if there were a way to make the classic monsters scary again, which I think is what a lot of us want. We want to be scared of those monsters again, but the old formulas don't cut it anymore. In order for them to be scary again, I think they're going to have to be able to not only be rebooted, but rebuilt. They're either going to have to do something so outside the box, so forward thinking, or the monster itself that may be very well unrecognizable. Or they're going to take door number 2 and pay some damn fine writers who love the genre to do the movies and to make them work. But of course, that's not going to happen because who wants to pay good money to writers when a bucket of guts is so cheap? So here's an idea. Instead of recycling the old movies, why not tap some new source material from horror writers? But maybe the directors, the screenwriters, if you can just try a little harder, then we, the monster fans, I guess we can try to keep our knees from jerking quite as hard. No promises, though. Instead of another adaptation of Stoker's Dracula, I'd personally like to see Robert E. Howard's short story, The Horror from the Mound, come to screen. If you don't know the story, it features a Spanish vampire called Don Santiago de Valdez, and it's set in the Old West, Texas, I think. It'd be right down my alley. You probably have monster stories you'd like to see make it to the big screen, too, from writers, classic or contemporary. Tell me what they are in the comments down below. Well, that'll do it for me this evening. You can find us on the web at werewolfhunter.com, and there's an email link there if you want to drop me a line. Shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from you. If you don't want to go there, the address is brian@werewolfhunter.com. You can also find me on Facebook under my name, Brian P. Easton, or Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter. Thanks for being with us here this evening, and until next time, happy hunting and mind the moon.